Today on the show, I have the pleasure of speaking with Prashant Kumar. Now, Prashant is the owner of MyRealtyGains, which helps assist busy professionals to invest in grade A real estate investment opportunities and provide stable cash flow returns and long-term appreciation. He has acquired and managed over $32 million worth of real estate. He has his own podcast, his own webinars, his own platform, and he's also an expat like myself. So I'm really pumped and excited to have him on the show today to share his incredible insight and knowledge about building something from scratch here in the US. G'day, Prashant. Welcome to the show. How you doing today, mate?
Hey, Reed. Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate you taking the time and interviewing me. I'm here. You ask me any questions what you want, and thanks for the great introduction.
My pleasure, my friend. Well, look, this show is all about getting to know you. So what I like to do is, with the start of every show, is I'll ask this one question to all my guests. Rewind the clock and tell me how you made your first ever dollar as a kid.
Yeah, so basically, I came from an entrepreneur background, okay? I mean, my family was, businessmen, my dad, my granddad, and we used to have like combined family, like joint family back in India, kids live with your parents live with their parents. So we were three generations living together.
Mm-hmm.
So I got up, I got exposed to business at a very early age, I must say that at the age of 8 or 9, I used to be spending time with my granddad used to do, or my dad used to do. And I used to take care of some business in the back, like by age of 12, I would go with my dad to the bank, deposit the money, take out the money and run around. I wouldn't do the negotiations and stuff like that, but I would do the background work, So and at that age, my grandpa used to give me 1 rupee a day. That is less than a cent. About a cent, I would say about a cent a day. And I used to save that even. So at the end of the month, my goal was to have, and I used to trick him. I used to say there are 8 days in a week, not 7. So he used to give me 8 rupees a week. So by the end of the week, my goal was to have 30 rupees in my pocket, and I used to spend 2. 8 4 is 32, right? So I used to spend 2 rupees and I used to save. So I come from that mentality, not that I was miser or anything. So I always had spend little, save more. So that was my mentality. And that went with me even today. I spend little and I save more. And, I went to school, a good school in India. One of the top institutes. I graduated. I worked in different parts of the world, and then came to US. Worked in various multinational companies all over the country. Managed resources across the world, and always the mentality was save more, spend less, and accumulate wealth. But at some point, you realize that, listen, how much can you save? You are working. You get paid only what you work for, Mm-hmm. So it's like you are trading your time. So that was hurting me somewhere, I became a consultant in 2007. And as a consultant, you get paid for the time you work on the clock, right? You get paid very high, but you don't get paid if you get sick. So that used to hurt me. For 10 years, I did not take a day off. Can you believe that? because it was hurting me. If I take a day off, I would make up stories. I would work in the night if I had to take. So long story short, for 10 to 12 years, I did not take a day off. And then it suddenly dawned at me, buddy, it's not worth. It's not worth. What am I saving for? What am I saving for? I need to do something. I need to make my money work for me. I saved a lot of money. As a consultant, I used to, and I'm not a tax advisor, but I used to take lesser W-2, and I used to save a lot in my pension fund and stuff like that. Accumulated a lot of money with the folks. At my age, I had a bunch of money. Mm-hmm. So after that, guys, I said, listen, I have to find some vehicle where I can put my money and let it grow. Otherwise, it is not going to grow. Because we as technical people are so so focused in working. It's my mind used to. We think that this is the world. I mean, it's like a frog in the well says, "This is my world," and we used to think. And even now, I mean, I know so many people. They just focus like sharp laser focus, and they cannot think. They cannot think like having the blinders. Like a horse has when they run.
Yeah.
So they just think that this is their world, this is their direction, and when I remove them, I see so much opportunities, so many things in the world. If you are an entrepreneur, you can make money wherever you want.
Yes.
If that's your goal. Not that that's my goal. I come from a humble background. My 2 cents are I want to give back to the world. And how can I do that? I do a lot of things in my life, charity, philanthropy, things like that. For that, I need time. I did not have time for 15 years. I used to go to those events and still used to work to cover my 8 hours. So I was like sort of working double shifts. So, I mean, all in all, I have reached to a level where I said, listen, guys, I have to give it up. I am not working anymore, and I'm spending my time with my family and spending time what I like to do most, have my own podcast, talking to folks like you, fine gentlemen like you, spreading my knowledge, and that's my journey.
That's awesome. And I think the question for me coming out of that, and speaking to a lot of expats who come to this country who want to do more with their life, do you remember the point in which you said enough was enough and I can't be working 60, 70 hours a week? What was that day look like for you?
Yeah, so I think that was not a light bulb for me. It was like a simmering in my heart, slowly, and I started investing into real estate, and real estate started making money. And I said, listen, this is too good to be true for me. I don't pick up the phone. I don't call I mean, not that I don't, but I spend literally 5 minutes or maybe a text, to talk to my property manager. And that's it. It makes me money. I said, buddy, it cannot be happening. I mean, I work so hard, so freaking hard, 40, 50, 60 hours is like normal, right? I mean, you know that, right? I mean, we talked about it earlier. 60 hours is like normal. And if you are lucky and if you get paid for 40, you still get paid for 40 hours. So point is, that thing was simmering in my heart. And and it still simmers, I mean, even though I don't work, sometimes I feel like I should work. But I said, unless I take a break, I cannot do it,
You're going to end up in the grave.
I'm half-hearted, I'm not working. I'm not putting my full-time effort in my job. I'm not working full-time effort in my work. I mean, my real estate work, or for that matter, anything else that I like. So I need to focus. Because I was starting to make mistakes, you don't review contracts properly, you mess around, So I said, listen, I have to take a break. Opportunity showed up, my project was, and I said, that's it for now, and I'll come back after some time, and I haven't gone back since then.
Well, talk to us about that first opportunity. Like, how did you make that transition from consultant into real estate full time? What did that look like? So
consultant into real estate full time, that was a big thing. Big thing means my fat paycheck was not coming anymore. So that was like a scary thing. You really get scared. What would happen if this paycheck doesn't come? Fortunately, I have other cash flows. I mean, my wife is still thinks about it, and she says you have to go back to work. I said, listen, that's not happening, at least for some time. So it was gut wrenching. Obviously, it was gut wrenching, and you are giving up your career. I mean, you have worked so hard, top of the institute. For 30 years worth of work, you are giving up. But at some point, you have to say, listen, this is enough. I mean, normally one person remains in a career path for 7 to 9 years. Okay, that's the normal statistics. And I stayed in one career for almost 30 years.
Wow.
So I said, buddy, if I stay here a little bit longer, then I cannot do it. I was already like more than 45 at that time. And I said, if I stay here for a few more years, then I could not quit. If I have to quit, I have to quit now. And that's, I just took a leap of faith. I just gathered my finances. I said, listen, as long as I can survive with the cash flow without depending on somebody else, I should be able to quit. And I was making enough money passively from my investments. So I said, okay, I'm moving on and finding it.
It's so interesting that even at 45, some people would think 45, it's too old. You're set in your ways. You're not, your feet are stuck in mud. You're not going to do anything. But that's awesome to see. And I think for the people listening, like it's, I got started as an entrepreneur, mid-20s. A lot of people listening to the show, they are of the younger generation. So it's great to hear someone like yourself coming into this space, becoming an entrepreneur, and not really realizing your roots until you were in your mid-40s, which is, again, I want that to sink and wash over people, because that is so important. It's not all about, I wish I'd started when I was 20 years of age. Well, guess what? I'm now 45 years of age. I want to start now. So you're proof that you can always teach an old dog new tricks. And it's so important to keep being humble and keep being young at mind, to know that you can push yourself, because I'm sure your wife and your kids and your family would have said, Prashant, what are you doing? Like, you've got a great career. What are you going to throw this all away? I'm sure those conversations happened, right?
Every day, those conversations happen. I mean, it's like a trap, right? I mean, right. It comes to your mind. It kind of takes over your mind, Mm-hmm. And I try to remain positive. My wife, it comes to my wife's mind. My kids are, Daddy, when are you going back to work? My daughter says, my wife says, oh, what's happening? Why don't you go back to work? You have stopped that fat check. I said, just remain focused. Let me do what I'm doing. I make a spreadsheet. I tell her, if I was working, I would have made this much. Now I'm making this much, and this is my growth. And over in the next, whatever time period, I'm going to surpass that, and I will continue to surpass that for future. So that, I kind of reassure them. In a way, it is good that they keep on reminding me, but I have to stick to what, and I'm there. It's not that I'm too far. I wanted to do it for a long, long time. I found an opportunity. If you have an opportunity, I always say that start early. That's one thing, like you said, I wish I could have started at the age of 20. That's what I'm going to teach to my kids, start early. You don't have to be working for 20 years. Yes, maybe you have to work for a year or 2, 5, maybe, to kind of understand how people work, how hard they work. I was working 14 hours a day at that time. Even now I work at least that much. My day starts at 6, it ends at 11. So I end up working approximately the same amount of time. But I do different things. I talk to you, I talk to different people, I do different things, whatever I like to do. I go to swimming, if I have to, so whenever I want, right? So that's the freedom I have, and I'm liking it.
That's awesome. So tell me, what does the portfolio look like today, and how did that first deal come about to help you break out of the W-2 world?
So I started, basically, after I left, I have not added too much in my portfolio yet, but my portfolio had grown even while I was working. I started, with 24 units myself. I bought it myself, and I realized I cannot continue to do that for a long time, like, 3 single families and then 24 units within 6 months period, 7-8 years ago, and then another 72 units. Those things I bought for myself, but there was nothing else after that, because your dry powder really dries up. So I started getting into syndication. Like everybody else, I had good deals, I had bad deals. In last 7-8 years, I've done total 19 deals.
That's awesome.
As general partners, raised a lot of equity from my friends, family members, and I tried to do one deal last year through, under my name, under my umbrella, which fell off. I lost a little bit of money there because of money was hard, stuff like that. It was an assumption deal. And the bank did not approve the assumption, the pref equity piece, until the last day of the contract. So that fell off. But so you end up learning a lot, basically. You end up learning a lot. Then I'm into assisted living also. I have few assisted living projects in California. I did them 3 years ago. And now I'm working on two assisted living projects conversion from hotel to assisted living, hotel to assisted living and nursing home to assisted living. They are on the horizon to close pretty soon. I mean, I must say within the next three months. They take a little longer time, because banks don't give you the loan unless a lot of things are approved, pre-approved. So they are right there. I mean, they may close in the next couple of months. For now, I'm just building my backbone, so to say, to be able to raise more equity. We're not in acquisition mode, for the reasons, the economy is a little bit up and down. So we are just in a holding pattern for a couple of weeks, maybe, I would say. Then we start looking at more acquisitions, probably, either late this year or early next year. So, I mean, overall, as I said, 19 deals so far.
That's great. That's incredible. Talk to me a little bit about the assisted living play. How does that sort of work? What size are you doing? And I'd love to understand the conversion from hotels to assisted living.
Yeah, so I started with 6 units, right? 6-unit family in California. California, they have 6 beds, assisted living projects. So we 3 of us got together and we acquired 3 homes. So in a sense, I have 1 home, probably 6 bed. Yes, we get higher rent, but then it is a little bit more intensive of work, because it needs an administrator, and so the expenses are high. So our expenses, including our debt service, are approximately 70%. If we are full, it's 1/3 that we make.
Yep.
If we are not full, then you end up losing money on the deal. So the important thing in this is basically for you to measure the demand and the supply, right? I mean, so the 2 places that I'm trying to convert from hotel to assisted living, demand and supply is the play. If the demand is high, then you can create more supply. So the place that I have chosen, and it is like Sierra Vista, Arizona, there the demand is 4 times the supply, including the new supply that I'm planning to create. So, I mean, that's it. I mean, your demand is 4 times the supply. There's no more competition. So I just thought, let me just buy this thing and try to convert it. And if we get to 90% occupancy, 85% occupancy, project IRR is upwards of 20-25 IRR returns at a very conservative numbers. So overall, looking okay. I mean, but again, you have to go through. You have to go to the city. You have to go to the permits. Construction. Then you go to state, and state gives you the license. Administrator is assigned to the building. So lot more regulations.
Yep, a lot more hoops to jump through, which means there's also less competition for you, right?
100%. There's no competition at all.
Right.
You are the only one,
You're figuring it out. So talk to me, when you look at you say the supply versus demand, what are you looking at specifically for those people out there, wanting to know a little bit more about the assisted living
So basically,
play?
what is the demand in assisted living? Assisted living demands represents the age, right? I mean, you look at the county population, you look at the age, 72 plus, how many folks live in your primary market area, within 5-mile radius, and from them, how many would be the likely candidate to go to assisted living. So let's say you're within the primary PMA, you have 10,000 people at 72 years of age. You take them and you divide them by 1/3 to say that, okay, out of these, some people may stay home, whatever. You say 1/3 probably will go to assisted living, and more importantly, who will be able to pay. So 1/3 will go to assisted living, but 1/3 of that, 1/3 are eligible to go to assisted living, and 1/3 of them are really able to pay themselves. I'm talking about private pay only. So 10,000 divided by 9, divide by 3, and then again divide by 3 is about 1,100. Right. So you say now my real demand for assisted living in this area is about 1,100. And this is just a rough number. That's how I kind of. But we do the studies have to be done by the consultants in the market, BVG or you name it, Newmark. So there are business consultants who do this study and tell you there's a demand, right? You cannot just open a hotel somewhere if there is no traffic there, right? Or you cannot have, it's like multifamily, but it is more regulated. So it is done really with a business concept in their mind. Now you know that 1100 is my demand, and then we will look at within those 5-mile radius, how much is the supply, how many existing facilities are there. In my case, and I just really gave you the numbers. In my case, my supply is only 115 beds, existing supply. So even if I add another 150 units, my demand still remains the 4 times the supply. So 250, 110 plus 150, 260, and my demand is still 4 times the supply. And banks would not give you the loan unless the demand is double the supply. It's not 1-to-1, it's 1:2. So, and they really look at you very, very hard. We just happen to be in both of our projects, we just happen to be in rural areas, less than 50,000 people, whatever. We are going through USDA loan. So initially it's a tough thing to get into. It's not like multifamily. Anybody can come in, start now, and 6 months later, you become general partner. It's not like that, but it is a long-term play. It gives you higher cash flow, higher returns. It's a business to run, right? So you put the right consulting company, right management company on the ground. I can always share a lot of information if anybody is interested.
No. Thank you for sharing, and I guess that is part of the play. You got to look at the supply, you look at the demand, but then you look at the approval process, which is obviously takes a long time. But then, how do you look at the management piece of it? Because that's always going to be hard once you get the deal up and running.
Yeah. So again, there are a lot of management companies who want to do this for you.
Okay.
And I get calls all the time. I had engaged one management company ever since from the beginning. It's a lot of money. Obviously, you have to pay, even though you don't know whether the doors are going to. You will be able to close the door or not. So we put all that risk money. But there are companies who treat you and people like us as investors, and they say, as long as you provide me a place to where I can run the business, I'll run it for you, because they own the administrator. They assign the administrator to the building. You and I cannot go and run the business because we are not the administrators. We don't have that many years worth of experience in the field. We are treated as investors, even though we will be setting up everything, making sure that a building is given to them in the right format and manage the building. But they run it, they hire, they have their salespeople. All that goes to state, basically. State doesn't give you the license unless all these things are streamlined. Your sales, your marketing, your caregivers, the training that you provide, the rules, regulation, you name it. Everything is taken care of by management company for a fees, either a fixed fee or a percentage of the gross.
And that is are you paying so you said paying a flat fee for that? Do you get the ups like a multifamily? It's like a property management company, so they charge 3% fee typically on a multifamily. Is that the same thing for these companies? They charge a 3% fee or 4% fee?
Yeah. So basically, in a way, yes. But to get to that point, also they charge you money, right? They charge you whatever $10,000, $20,000 per month for a year, just to kind of get to that point, finally opening the door. And after that, it becomes 4%, 5% of the gross, plus payroll and expenses and everything. But it's not as simpler as we manage our multifamily. Like from an asset management standpoint, you are involved a little bit more. One property in assisted living is equivalent to 3 properties in multifamily. That's what my thought is. As of right now, we have to see how that works out. And these companies, they're pretty good companies. It's not. As I say, multiple companies are calling. They give you the budget upfront. They tell you this is what they're gonna do, and this is up to you. How do you make sure that they don't deviate from that?
Right. And then I think the hard part would be, like in multifamily, everyone's a renter, right? If someone, moves out of their house, but the renting pool for you, as you just mentioned earlier, it's, 10,000 divided by 9. Use a very, very specific niche that you're trying to attract. So you're not having people just walking off the street. You have to, really target your marketing. So what type of marketing are you doing in order to get those foot traffic?
Yeah, so very, very good question. So the marketing is actually very targeted marketing from a digital standpoint, but more than anything else, it is a lot of local connections. Your sales department really is connecting with a lot of local philanthropic organizations, a lot of hospitals, a lot of doctors' offices, a lot of consultants who bring older folks to you. Mm-hmm. So the marketing is very, very targeted because each bed, when you fill it up, you are starting to make upwards of $4,000 to $5,000 per bed, and somebody comes in and they tend to remain with you not for 6 months. If you are doing the good service and you do all that determination up front, they probably end up staying with you until the end, until the sun sets for them. Mm-hmm. So it is very, very targeted marketing, and as I said, a lot of local connections. It's not just go to digital media and put the ads. That's not how it works. I mean, we do get a lot of referrals from digital media. Don't take me wrong, but a lot of things come from referrals. Doctors. A lot of
hospitals.
Hospitals and talking. Basically sending gifts to these places, engaging them in the community. Things like that.
No, very, very interesting. It's a very fascinating space because we're all getting older, right? We're not getting any younger, and that's always going to be a demand driver. So back to what you're building, I think it's, if you can build a good mousetrap, you can then replicate it. How difficult is it, just on a final question here, how difficult is it to look at other markets? Like for me as a multifamily investor, you as a multifamily investor, you can sort of go and pick and choose a market, but you really have to understand with the assisted living, what's the local legislation, the local state laws, like who you have to get, on board to approve these projects. How does that, do you target certain states or certain markets?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. I mean, that's the beginning of everything, right? I mean, if it is not approved, then it's not worth a penny for you, right? So you really go into it, look at the project, you spend your time. A lot of due diligence is done. You go to the city, you go to the banks, you go to the state to figure it out whether they are going to approve a project of a certain size in a locality or not. And typically, if you go to a place where there's a need, the local legislators tend to approve that. They say that yes, if you and you need to change the zoning of your property also. So basically, all that is done. I mean, there's a lot of due diligence that goes in, and without that, it would not just move. So you spend a lot of time. I would say months, and the basic thing is how you buy it, right? I mean, if you buy an asset which is depressed and somebody is willing to sell it, then it is easy. If you try to bid, then you will not work, because if you are trying to bid and you are one of the 5 bidders and you have this plan in your mind and somebody else just wants to keep it as a hotel, then you are better off walking away from that, because you are not going to get you will not be moving at the faster pace. It's going to take long time. I mean, it has taken me more than 12 months on both the projects, and I've been sitting on both 2 projects which are likely to close, and knock on the wood, hopefully one in next 30 days and one probably next 90 days.
Got it. Awesome, mate. And where do you, last question, where do you want to scale this to in the future?
Yeah, so basically it all depends. I want to start these. I want to probably let them run a little bit more and kind of test the waters. How is it going? And then, even though I'm looking at other properties too, you have to have a consultant who's on your side, who can look up the data for you like that, in a split second. A lot of things come to our table, but we cannot just do the analysis in 5 minutes. It's not like rent roll T12, put in a model and say, oh yeah, it's going to work. That's not like that. It's not like that.
Right.
So a lot more analysis is done. So I have few people on my side, who wants to do it. They do the research for me. They have access to the databases. I want to grow it to the next level. Is it going to work out? I'm pretty sure it will work out eventually, but each project takes long time.
Yep.
So I want to grow it. I have 2 projects. Maybe within a year's time, probably the 3rd project will show up somewhere. And then by the time, hopefully, I have my processes aligned, then it will be easier for me to answer this question at that time.
No, look, I think you're doing the hard work that most people don't want to do, and that's going to set you up for success in 5 years' time. Where you have it all. It goes like clockwork because you know how the system works. So I think kudos to you for getting in there, rolling up the sleeves, and getting your hands dirty. Now, at the end of every show, we like to dive into the top 5 investing tips. It's a lightning round. Are you ready to get into it?
I'm ready.
Mate, question number 1 is, what is the daily habit you practice to keep on track towards your goals?
I meditate every day morning, and not that that's the goal of my meditation, but my deepest level thinking happens during meditation. The things that I cannot think otherwise, I'm able to comprehend them and make my plan within few minutes. I don't do that for that reason, but it does happen when I'm under stress and when I need the deepest level of thinking. So that helps me keep going.
Got it. I love it. I'm a meditator every single day. And if I don't meditate in the mornings, my day is completely off. It helps me get centered every morning. So yeah, meditation is definitely a big key on this show that every one of my guests come on, they tell me that they meditate every morning. And the other one is, for me, is sleep. Prioritizing sleep and meditation. Although if you don't get those 2, your day is screwed. Question number 2 is, who's been the biggest influence in your career to date?
So, as I said, I started my journey when my dad, my father, working together. My dad was a very simple man. So I had a spiritual guide, I had somebody who taught me meditation from a very early age. I started meditating when I was 18. The name of the person is P. Rajgopalachari. He's from India, from Chennai. I followed him. Not that I had to hold his hand or anything. I followed the philosophy. Whatever he said, don't worry. It will, whatever is happening for a reason in life. And I followed that philosophy very well. I don't get distressed even if I lose a few bucks here and there. And he has been the most influencer in my life. He's no more, but the organization is still there, heartfulness.org. And I meditate in that organization. I'm actually an instructor. I spend a lot of time helping others to meditate, to gain peace.
Oh, really?
Free of charge, yes.
That's awesome. I love it. Question number 3. In your business, what is the most influential tool? And when I say tool, it could be a piece of, it could be a journal, or physical tool like a phone, or it could be a piece of software that you can't run the business without. What is it?
So, right now, I don't know, for some reason, I cannot think of anything but most important is my phone, that without that, obviously, I cannot run the business. And actually, Zoom is becoming an important tool for me, because all my meetings, whole day, you are on Zoom, right?
Right.
You can avoid going, meeting people, talk to them on Zoom. I must say, phone and Zoom, these are two really important tools for me.
That's awesome. No, I completely agree. This has completely changed the way we do our business today with remote type of working. So awesome stuff. Second last question is, in one sentence, what has been the biggest failure in your career? What did you learn from that failure?
So the biggest value is
failure. When you failed.
Yeah. So my biggest thing that I learned is, learn to walk before you think of running. Learn to walk, because you don't know what you don't know coming into a business. And it's very important that you have somebody on your side who can hold your hand and take you to the next level. So that is, I think, is the biggest key. Just, don't put a lot of hard-earned money at risk. into a project unless you know in and out of the project, and unless you have somebody on your side who can take you to the next level.
That's exactly right. I love it. Mate, last question. Where can people reach you to continue the conversation? They want to be in your sphere. Where do they go?
Yeah, I mean, basically, if anybody wants to reach me, you go to my company, behind me, MyRealtyGains, MyRealtyGains.com, and then schedule a call with me. That's it. I mean, that's the best way to connect with me.
Awesome.
MyRealtyGains.com.
MyRealtyGains.com.
Yeah.
Well, Prashant, I want to thank you for jumping on today's show. Just to reflect a few of the things I took away from today's show, I think your ability to understand when enough's enough, right? To have that pivot in your later in life. Most entrepreneurs get started a lot earlier. To be mid-40s and pivot into a business when you've had your multiple decade career would have been a tough decision to make. And I just think that's a really great lesson for everyone who's listening to today's show, that you're never too old, right? You're never too old to get started in this business. I think the second part of the conversation where we talked about assisted living, it is a very detailed business, and I love the fact that you're rolling up the sleeves, getting your hands dirty, figuring out a niche in the market where you could be a market leader someday because you are putting in the hard work today. You're not going and getting 10, 15, 20 multifamily deals a year. You're just focusing on a couple of assisted living. But once you get the machine up and running, it could be very, very profitable for you in your investors in the future. So I wish you all the best. Did I leave anything out?
No, Reed, thank you so much. No, you kind of summarized it very well. I mean, that's the goal. I mean, I'm not stopping doing multifamily. I will continue to do multifamily because that's the bread and butter. That's where I'm getting the cash flows from. So, and to me, I must say that that's easy money as of right now. I mean, but assisted living probably once I get a taste of it, maybe I'll come back and share my experience here again on your podcast.
Would love to.
Once again, thanks for inviting me.
My pleasure. Well, look, mate, enjoy the rest of your week. We'll catch up very, very soon.
Thank you so much, Rick.
Well, there you have it. A cracking episode jam-packed with incredible insight into Prashant's background and how he got started really from scratch. And then as he pivoted later on in life in a very, really well-established career, pivoting into entrepreneurship. He now is also pivoting into assisted living, which is such a very, very awesome niche. And if you're interested to find out more, remember, head over to MyRealtyGains.com. Check out everything he's doing over there. I want to thank you all for taking some time out of the day to tune in to continue to grow your financial IQ, because that's what we're all about here on this show. If you do like this show, the easiest way to give back is to give it a 5-star review on iTunes. All the show notes from today will be up on my website at reedgoosens.com. There's a whole bunch of content over there, free content. Please go over and subscribe and check it all out at reedgoosens.com. We're going to do this all again next week. So remember, be bold, be brave, and go give life a crack.